Oh, oh, it's Friday. It's so. You probably won't see the cat today. I turned the heat on. And here we go. In three, two. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Friday, finally, October 9th, 2020. My name's Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. Wow. I slept pretty well. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a great Thursday. Good morning, Daniel. Thanks for joining us regardless. We have international viewers to this show, which is kind of fun. It's Friday. We've almost made it to the weekend. For those of you who work over the weekend, of course, the weekends don't mean as much to you, or at least they mean something different. I'm sure to work. Probably a couple months ago, I had reached out to everyone on Facebook or via Facebook and said, "Hey, I gotta get out. Who's got a low-cost option for me?" And one of my martial arts friends came through, and I stayed in northern Maine for a long weekend, and it was awesome and needed, and it was great. But one of the other people who reached out owns a small farm here in Vermont, about an hour away. And he said, you're always welcome here, but we're also going away coming up, and would love to have you come and just take care of things. And so I was there yesterday, just getting the lay of the land, figuring out what I got to do. It's not that much. I got a beautiful place to stay. There's animals around, and I got a little bit of work to do. And what is better than that? So I'm going to go do that this weekend, and I'm really looking forward to it. There are Icelandic sheep and ducks and a few kinds of chickens and dogs, and awesome. It's going to be fun. I like the personalities on the sheep. I don't usually like sheep. Sheep are usually dumb, less fun versions of goats. But these sheep actually, personality-wise, reminded me a bit of goats. And I did a little bit of research on Icelandic sheep when I got home, and they're known for being pretty friendly. And times, kind of looks like Princess Leia from Star Wars, but horns. Do you need to say from Star Wars? I could probably just say Leia, and everybody would know who I meant. Princess Leia is probably reasonable. Princess Leia from Star Wars is redundant. What happened yesterday? So I did that. Oh, you know what I did yesterday? If I'd thought, I would have gotten it for show and tell. I prepared for my lemon law case coming up with Mazda via the state, and I spent 5 hours preparing documentation and preparing my case and watching video of other cases, and I'm ready. I think based on what's going on, it is unlikely that because I have video of these problems, I think it's unlikely that the board will review what's going on and say, oh, this isn't real or something like that. They'll accept it. The question is, how big of a deal will they think it is? Because I'm asking for a full refund. I want to give the car back, and I want all my money back and all the interest paid back. I don't know that they'll quite go that far, but I hope so, because I just want it to be done. Stupid car. All right. What else? What's going on today? So prior to start of my farm work, I've got a little bit of IT work. Oh, my computer I gotta go set up for a business. Which this project has turned into a disaster. Well, not quite a disaster, but far more complicated than I wanted it to be. What the? Is there a frost outside? Hey Google, what's the temperature?
The current temperature in Moortown is 30 degrees.
Yeah, that's a frost outside. I couldn't tell if it was a frost or snow, but at 30 degrees, it's gonna be a frost. So, it's October. We could have our first snow soon. And with the car, I'm trying to hold off on another year's registration and putting the snow tires on. I've got just enough time if they, depending on how long it takes them to find in my favor. Because who wants to pay for another year of registration? And you're going to pay for another year of registration for another car. So I'll go deal with the computer stuff and then come check on the fur ball. And then I'll drive and hang out there for a few days. I'll pop back here, make sure she's okay. It's only an hour away. And I've only got work to do in the mornings and the evenings. So the ducks are funny. If you've ever seen a flock of domestic ducks, they are a riot. They're so much funnier than wild ducks. Wild ducks are great. They just kind of, they hang out, whatever. Domestic ducks, they are so trainable and they waddle. It's a riot to watch them. And my friend was showing me what's got to be done to get everybody to do their thing. And all of a sudden, they start coming out of the pond and they're in a single file line and they're just waddling back and forth. And it was a riot. Let's see what you all left me to talk about. Questions, comments, things like that. Frank's asking if registration is expensive in Vermont. It's not. I think 1 year is $126 for a passenger car. 2 years is $240 something. My motorcycle's a little less, but not a lot. And I've got a nameplate. I've got a vanity plate on it, which adds $15-$30. I don't know. It's not that much, which is why I do it. Anybody know what my vanity plate says? I've posted that before in various places. Oh, coffee came out great. Super tasty. Yeah. What'd you guys think of yesterday's episode of Martial Arts Radio? Anybody listen to that yet? Oh, Gabe got it. There's some spelling in there, but yeah, nice job. If you checked out yesterday's episode of Martial Arts Radio, that included, for the first time as a co-host, Andrew, I'm curious of your thoughts. And if they're really mean, you can send them to me privately. But I can't imagine they would be mean. The jokes for Funday Friday. How does an IT guy drink coffee? He installs Java. For those of you that are not super nerdy, Java is a programming language. It's also a runtime environment that you probably already have installed on your computer. You probably get an update that says, blah, 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 update Java, and you probably say, I don't want to do that right now. I just got myself a top-of-the-range coffee maker. It has a lot of perks. I made my wife a cup of coffee today, and she complained it tasted like dirt. I said, that's not surprising. It was just ground this morning. What do you call sad coffee? Depresso. How did the hipster burn his tongue? He drank his coffee before it was cool. This morning I made my coffee with Red Bull instead of water. Let me try that again. This morning I made my coffee with Red Bull instead of water. After 15 minutes of driving on the highway, I realized I left my car at home. Frank, those are great. Very solid options. One of the fun things about whistlekick and the things that we do is that as we do content, as we do sites, as we put things out there, people tend to pop up that like what we do. They find that what we're doing is resonating for them, and they they fall into orbit. There's a gravity to whistlekick, to what's going on here. And as I describe it, I am not the center. I'm not the sun in this analogy. I'm Mercury. I am the tightest one revolving around what whistlekick's doing. And I had a late night, not quite late, 7 p.m. call with somebody last night who has fallen into orbit. And she's already done some writing via Marshall Journal. And there was another project she wanted to tackle. And so if you're at all aware, we have martialartspodcast.com, which is a website where the original intent was to feature all of the martial arts podcasts that existed. It has not been updated in 2 years. Some of the shows have to come off. There are a bunch of new shows to put on. But the whole premise is to expose people to martial arts podcasts. And she's super pumped about it. We spent about an hour talking and me showing her some behind the scenes. There's a Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, you might want to go like that, Martial Arts Podcasts. And I'm excited to see what she does with it. Frank's another great example. You know, I could do the research for some jokes, but they wouldn't be as funny. I don't have that style of sense of humor that Frank does, and some of them are even original. It's such a great addition to have that on Friday. So thank you, my friend. Oh, so good. Oh, and just a reminder, because I just saw it on my calendar, no First Cup Monday. Now, there is a chance that if everything works well, I will record a video of myself down on the farm. I might record tomorrow's first cup of coffee hanging outside with the sheep for you. So we might do something impromptu, but there isn't going to be a live episode. Okay. When we do pre-recorded episodes, people don't watch them as much, and that's fine. That's totally cool. But just wanted to let everybody know ahead of time. I didn't want you to think I was bait and switching, something like that. Well, thank you. Stacy says, enjoy the farm. Daniel says, I'm not a coffee addict. I don't have a problem with coffee. I have a problem without it. A little while ago, Frank was submitting quotes from fortune cookies that he had saved, and it looks like he's got a few more. Diligence is the mother of good fortune. Oh. And we've heard that sentiment in a lot of different ways, haven't we? The one that comes to mind first, God helps those who help themselves. Hard work creates luck. Diligence is the mother of good fortune. There's a podcast that I listen to called How I Built This. It's an NPR podcast hosted by Guy Raz. It's a good show. It's done well, and you know, it's NPR, so they get some really good guests. I mean, some of the biggest startups that you've ever heard of. I mean, they had the guys from Ben and Jerry's on. They had Ben and Jerry, who started their business over there. Actually, they started it up there, but now it's over there. But owned by a company that is way over there. Unilever. But the reason I bring up that podcast is at the end of each episode, Guy asks the guests, do you attribute your success to luck or hard work? And most of the people are pretty humble, and they tend to dodge the question a lot. Because I'm going to be honest, I think, or no, luck or intelligence. It's basically the question. Man, I can't believe I don't remember it exactly. The question is basically, did you get lucky, or are you smart enough that this was always going to happen? And my favorite answer, the one that is both humble and I think really does get it right, is I created my own luck by working really hard for a long time. If you think of what is luck, luck is a percentage chance that something's going to happen. Percentage chance that you win the lottery, really small. But the more often you play the lottery, the more likely something is to hit. If you want good fortune, you keep working at whatever the thing is. What's ultimately going to make whistlekick take off? I have no idea. How do we get from where we are to the next level? Could be any one of a number of things, and that's why we're doing a bunch of different things. And so in hindsight, when it comes back to it, when we're looking back, or when I'm on how I built this or whatever, and Guy asked me that question, we made our own luck. We worked our tails off to make sure that there were enough chances that when the dice rolled, it was going to come up in our favor eventually. Daniel says, but the real luck-based question is, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Gabe says, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Ooh, I like that. We've all had things fall in our lap. Some of them we deserved, some of them we didn't. That's personal perspective. But in every case, the more you prepare, the more effort that goes into creating the situation that invites that luck, the more you're going to capitalize on it. To affirm is to make firm. Affirm, confirm, to make firm. I don't know what else I can say on that. One of the things I find disappointing in the way the world is today is that people are not firm. They are not steady. They don't keep their word. They don't have honor and integrity. Now, I'm not saying everyone. I'm not saying that is, some completely lost thing. But I can't imagine not keeping my word. I can't imagine not having integrity and treating the people around me with kindness and respect and valuing them. So the fact that anybody would act in that way is not something I can understand. But we have quite a few of it. Have a great day, Stacy. She's taken off. There is an epidemic of infirm conviction. And that bums me out. I think as martial artists, we are much more likely to be steadfast and have a code because it's part of our training. But we're not immune. There are plenty of martial artists out there, even high-ranking ones, that are bold-faced liars and D-bags. But I think we fare better if we were to apply some percentages. What's the one thing you can really control? Yourself, your actions, your reactions. And the more you focus on those, the more you prioritize doing those well, the more it influences other people around you to do the same. Don't underestimate the power you have by being a good person. Even a broken clock is right 2 times a day. Are you familiar with the what would we call it? It's reductio ad absurdum. The concept, I guess. It's the idea that if Daniel says, unless it's a digital one. This is true. A digital clock may not be right ever. But you could say that it's right for somewhere on Earth. Always. 2 sides of that one. So reductio ad absurdum. Let's say, let's say you make an argument, and you have 3 points to your argument, and one of them is untrue. Reductio ad absurdum is to say that, well, if he got that part wrong, then he got the whole thing wrong, because he's always wrong. And that's where we are now as a society. We look for what's wrong. We focus on the wrong. By the same token, to justify our own thoughts and beliefs, we'll look for what's the thing that's right that justifies what I'm saying or believing. I can find a broken clock that's right on something, and I can do the opposite of reductio ad absurdum, and I can infer that everything that clock does is correct. It doesn't work that way. Truth is objective. Whether we believe it or not, truth is. It can be really challenging to know what's true because we've got to filter it through a bunch of humanity. That doesn't mean it doesn't matter. A lot of what we spend our time trying to figure out doesn't matter. A lot of the arguments over what's true miss the point. Here's an analogy to explain that. Let's say somebody shoots you in the foot. It's kind of going on right now. If you follow certain musical artists, let's say somebody shoots you in the foot, and you say, "I can't believe you shot me in the foot with a 22," and they say, "It was a 38." It's the wrong argument. Their argument is, "Why did you shoot me in the foot? You shouldn't have shot me in the foot. Never shoot me in the foot." We've got a lot of people in life right now arguing over the caliber of the bullet instead of the wrongness of the action. Come on. Why did you go away? There you go. Oh, wow. On this day in 1992, action thriller film Under Siege, directed by Andrew Davis, starring Steven Seagal, in his most famous role, is released. Have you seen this movie? Yes. If so, tell us about it. If you were not a martial artist in 1992, it can be really hard to understand how impactful Steven Seagal and this film were in the early days. Because what did we have prior to that? In 1992, what did we have? We had Bruce Lee. We had Jean-Claude Van Damme. When did The Perfect Weapon come out? That was the 90s, if I remember. And Daniel says, he also cooks. Yes. So what you had with Under Siege was, I would argue, a better plot, a better directed film, and a different style of combat, a dramatically different style of combat. Prior to Steven Seagal, most of what I saw for martial arts films, and even since, of things that were around back then, were basically the same plot. It was pretty cheesy, and the plot didn't so much matter, and the plot was an excuse to connect fight scenes, and the fight scenes were pretty simple, and they had a few dramatic movements, and they were cool, it was great. But here Steven Seagal comes in and he's doing Aikido, which in 1992 most of us had not been exposed to. And so people are coming in and he's flipping them and throwing them, and he's doing this really neat stuff, and it flowed really well in a way that prior to that, movie fight scenes didn't flow. And I remember hearing adults, because 92 I was 13. I remember hearing adults talk about it at class. Did you see that new movie? Yeah, it's really good. And we started to try to mimic some of that stuff. We didn't have Aikido, but we still had enough grappling and what I guess we would call jiu-jitsu in our curriculum, that we could use some of it. And so it's when I see what people say about Seagal now and the way they speak of him, it kind of bums me out. Because either they forgot or they don't know how much of an impact that man had on what we see and do today as martial artists and in martial arts cinema. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. If you're used to watching, The Raid and Ong Bak, I'm not going to say it holds up. But if you can try to roll back 30 years, it's hard to believe it's been almost 30 years. If you can try to roll back, it's a pretty impressive movie. And if you say, it's okay, I'm glad I watched it, you might not want to watch the others, because none of them are as good, as far as I'm concerned. All right. Almost done with my coffee, done with the questions and comments, so it's time to go. I hope you have an amazing Friday. I hope you have whatever kind of day you want. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you'll leave me some questions and some comments. Anything that you leave me today on today's show will be dealt with. Sounds logistical. Will be responded to on Tuesday. I will be back with normal schedule. Daniel says, enjoy your weekend on the farm. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to it. I will try to get a video up for you for Monday morning for those of you who want one. And if you don't want one, you don't have to watch it. That's the beauty of this show. Take care, everybody. Yeah. Hit the subscribe if you haven't. Hit the thumbs up, the like button if you haven't. Give me some more of those thumbs up. This show starts to get some more attention, which I would appreciate. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Peace.